Hey guys, we're back from Maryland, just getting back from the World Cup Finals, import versus domestic, and we won our class. We just came off the win at FL2K, went over the car, did the normal maintenance and stuff we do and checks, and basically just got ready for Maryland, which was only a few weeks difference between. The class we were in is Warriors versus Cuarto, so the domestic side is cars similar to mine. There's a lot of different variants in that though, but just basically domestic cars that run. Typically that class is in the 650, 640 range ET-wise, and then they kind of bring in different rule sets for cars that run that speed. And then on the import side, the Cuarto side is 3/4 chassis import cars, and they have rules for their engines. Rotary cars, 2JZ cars, they have big tires, wheelie bars, and it's pretty neat to see the different styles of cars racing. It's one of the draws of World Cup Finals is there's such a big variety of cars and the import versus domestic. This race was really, really, really big for me personally and to my team and the people involved, mainly because I never thought I would ever be racing at this race. My good friend Fernando comes to me with this race every year. Me and him work together at the Mercedes dealer, and we used to watch the race on the live stream every year, just like dreaming of going to watch the race some year. Like we were planning on going to watch. And then 2 years ago, the rule set kind of opened up a little bit to let in a few different cars that didn't run specific classes like X275 or Earth Race Quattros. They brought in some TX2K street car rules as a crossover. So we went up with my old car in Street Fighter, which we went up there with a car, that class goes 7.0-ish typically, the faster people in that class. And at the time, that's how fast my car was. So we went up there like, holy crap, like we have a car that can go and be competitive and win World Cup. We got there and realized that this is a serious race. I mean, all the races we go to are serious, but this one is just different. It's hard to explain it. People from like 19 countries, the pits are insanely packed, like big operations, spare engines, spare parts, the whole deal. Jason Miller and his staff run the most organized professional event that you'll go to. It's really, really impressive. And we got there and was kind of in the spectacle of that track. We learned real quick that racing in Maryland in November is a lot different than racing in Florida or even in the other states that we race. The DA there is always negative pretty much for this race. Like if it gets to sea level, that's like a bad day. Track temps are cold. And the prep they do at this event it's a mixed prep because half the cars are slick tire cars and half the cars are radial cars. So, when he preps the track, the strategy he uses and the glue that he cuts is a little bit different than the normal radial prep that we race on. So we found right away is most of our tune-ups and suspension changes were wrong. We lost first round that year, spun the tires, and we were out, packed up, went home. Last year, I had this car. We just came off FL2K. This car was really new. This was going to be like the second race for this car. But we felt like we had a chance. We were in Warriors versus Cuarto that last year. We went 670 in FL2K, so we felt like we could pull a 650 off. Went up there, we were qualifying great. New personal best like every pass. I think we went 652 there. That was the fastest the car had ever been at that point. And we were ecstatic. Ready to go. We get into eliminations. First round, spin the tires, lose the race, go home again. So going into this year, basically my first goal was to win first round. Like obviously I wanted to win the race. I felt like we had a car that could win the race, but like my main focus for the first, whole part of the event was we have to get past first round to get to round two. So let's get past first round. Qualifying came up, we got there Wednesday, we did some test passes, we had a couple little issues with the car. Eric at JPC let us use his shop because he's got a hub dyno there. The days are long there, there's so many cars and so many classes, you may get one run a day, you may get two, it's spaced out pretty far. So we went to the hub dyno, it was just 2 hours away, Wednesday night, to make passes on the car to be able to check things over. So we worked on the car Thursday, got it straightened out where we were comfortable racing it again, and went back to the track. So we missed one qualifier Thursday, which wasn't a big deal. We still had Friday and Saturday to qualify to move into eliminations. Qualifying was pretty tough for us. First couple rounds, we were working through getting settings right from the car on the track prep that I described to you. Then we ended up, I think Q3, we went 651 at 224. So that was, a decent pass for sure. 224 was what we ran at FL2K. We went 630, so the power was there. The car was healthy, ready to go. We just needed to find some short track. That round, Keith Rea went a 619, so #1 qualifier. I I know that's probably a new record for the class. The 3 people between us were closer to my time. There was like a 49, a 45, and a 44, and then that 619. So we knew that, you know, our class was pretty tight, but whenever we were going to get up against Keith, I don't have a 619 tune-up for that track. We haven't been that fast, and I knew we couldn't short track that fast to run that number. So we were going to have to let racing take over and then see where it falls. Because, you know, the saying is, you know, racing is racing, the fastest car doesn't always win. So, you know, you can't dwell on the fact that you don't have the fastest car that day, because anything can happen through the rounds. At this point, I'm feeling a little bit like, crap, Jay's going to say I told you so, because we could run a 315 tire for this class. 90% of the other radial cars in my class were on a 315. If you guys don't know, that's a tire that Radial vs. the World runs. It's a 12.5 inch by 30 inch drag radial. So it's the same type of tire that I run. It's just much larger, so you have more forgiveness in track surfaces. You can, the track can be worse. You have a bigger tire. It's just basically that simple. But changing the tire isn't quite that simple, because when the car is set up on the 28 that we run, everything changes when you put a 30-inch tire on the car. So the gear ratio changes, drive shaft RPM changes, four-link may need to change, ride height change, pinion height change, everything changes. So to just put it on the car and hope for the best, it felt risky to me. It felt like not a calculated move we would make. And to do the gear change and do the tire change and get enough testing in before the event, there simply wasn't enough time, and I didn't want to spend the money on all the parts for this one race to, you know, hope that would be better, or knowing that it would be better. But we had such good data on the 28, so I took the chances on going up there on the 28. We're 28 tire guys. Like 275 is awesome. Jim literally told me he's not going to help me work on my car anymore if I ever put anything but the 28 on it. So he was my crew chief for the weekend. So that was also part of the factors. If I put a 315 on, he wasn't going to come. We were spinning the tires, watching all the 315s go down. It was pretty much like, yep, should have put a 315 on it. Looking over at the Mickey Thompson trailer like, it's too late. I can't do it now. Let's just make it work with what we got. And we did. Joe was at home working remote with us. We had, I think, 33 different calibration revisions for the 8 passes we made that weekend, just because the track conditions and the weather conditions changed so rapidly, and day-to-day temperature swings were pretty drastic. I mean, the sun would go down, air temp would drop 10, 15 degrees, DA would drop 500 feet, and the settings you had in your car to go up to the lanes are now different because there was 3 oil downs and you're 2 hours later. So, you need another revision for that. So, this style of racing and that atmosphere with that many cars and that kind of weather changes, there's not just one tune-up you're going to run. You're going to basically take it hour by hour and car by car and keep your strategy one lap at a time. So we get into eliminations day, not feeling great, feeling good. The car ran well, knowing that we could go 40s pretty easy. Maybe a 30 if we get against Keith, and hope that we're quicker on the light, hope he spins a little on the gear change or something like that. It could work out. We could still on the #1 goal to not lose first round. The sheet came out, we would have to race Keith in the semifinals. The ladder wasn't bad for us. We could work our way through, get to the semis and hope for the best. Round 1 comes up and I get a broke by. Car didn't show up to run. He broke his car during qualifying. And we basically won the round. We just had to break the beam. So luck's on our side. Maybe this is my event. There's no way I can lose first round unless I crash doing a burnout and can't break the beams, or the engine falls out. I'm gonna win first round, and we already achieved first goal for the weekend. Time to move on to the real goal and then winning the event. We get up there first round. The starting line was pretty terrible at that point because they ran a lot of cars down the lane, a lot of big tire cars, and we were in the back of the field, 32 car field. But at that point, the track was pretty bad. So we made a test pass. It spun a little on the hit. I pedaled it. I got it back together. Like, it would have went down the track. On paper, we would have beat the car off their qualifying time. That would have been against us. So we felt okay with that to move on through the next rounds. We had a little more luck on our side. It seems like racing imports is pretty good for us because they didn't make through a lot of rounds to be able to move into competition. So we got another free pass at the track. And it was great. At that point, we had a good tune-up. The car went 430 with a slow 60-foot, traction control on a lot. So we knew that would have been a 650, no problem. We move on through the rounds, and now we're up against a Thrace Cuarto car, import car, and we finally get to race someone. At this point, I'm excited I get to race someone. The free passes were great. We got to move on through the round, but the car was dialed. Like, we knew we had passes that could beat the cars that we were going to be against. Let off the button, pulled out, never really saw him, lifted a little early on the pass, went 650, we got the win, and we're moving on. Unfortunately for Keith, he spun the tires pretty bad at the 60 foot and got outran by the car he was racing, so he was out. So now at this point, we're racing an RX-7 that had qualified with a 640, went 670 the last pass. I'm like, okay, like we have a shot at this. Like, we're not racing a 619 car anymore. I don't think that the RX-7 could pull out an ET like that, and I knew that we couldn't pull out an ET like that, so we were going to put in the tune-up that we knew worked, hit the light and go down the track and win the race.
Oh boy, they're side by side. Here we go. Top end of the racetrack. Wind light. Give it to La Sala. 648. Brett La Sala wins. McLeod Warriors versus Race Cuarto.
Hit the light. We left pretty even. About 100 foot. I was gone. I was out. I think he ran a 680, went 640, 225, and it was over. We won the event. It was a surreal moment. Did the interview with Flo down at the end, and it was just awesome, man. I can't believe that we won World Cup, being that I put a lot of pressure on myself to win this race, being that the last 2 years were so bad. In the beginning of the week, wasn't looking good for us. You know, we had a couple problems with the car. We were slow in the beginning compared to the rest of the class, and I'm like, man, I think I just might be not cut out for World Cup. If I lose first round again, like I don't know if I'm going to come back. Like it was to the point I was in my head a little bit on that, but we don't have any quit in us. So, you know, I definitely wasn't going to quit at all that weekend. You know, work on the car, get the car right, do what we got to do. Job at home tuning the car was amazing. He was there all weekend. It was his wife's birthday, but I think he was tuning from the hotel room that night to make sure we had what we needed to go down the track. So it was a great effort by the team. Fernando being there the whole time was amazing. Without Jim's help throughout the weekend, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It's a lot to run a car like this by yourself. So, you know, a lot of teams have big crews. You know, we have a big team, but when I travel to a race that's far away that everyone's not racing at, you know, typically I'm by myself or with a couple people. So Jim took off. He was going to be there for me, he said, this whole week, which he was. So, you know, it was crucial that happened. Fernando was there. Jay was there. Pablo was there. The whole Real Street crew was there. We had a vendor booth, so they were there in the midway working. It was just a really, really good event working out for us. And to cap off our year, so this year has kind of been a whirlwind. It's been happening fast, and I haven't had a lot of time to reflect on it yet, but we've won every major event that we've entered with the car. I don't even like saying it because I feel like it's just bragging too much, but like, you know, we set out with goals to win races, and, you know, we have the car set up and we put in the work in the car to make it right, and it's just paying off. You know, started the year off with Sick Week, went to TX2K, FL2K, and now World Cup, and, you know, premier classes of all the events, and we've managed to take this car to the winner's circle on every single one of them. So we have one more race this year coming up. It's in, I don't know, a day or two. It's the Mod Motor Nationals at Bradenton Motorsports Park. We're entered in an 8th mile time shown class. So we haven't really dedicated any time to how fast can we go to the 8th. Like, we're always trying to go fast to the 8th because then that makes the quarter mile faster, but we always race quarter mile with the car. So to be able to go to this little 8th mile deal is going to be fun. Running to the 8th is a lot safer because the speeds are a lot lower. You're burning the fuse a lot shorter of a time, really, after the 8th to the quarter. The engine, all that stuff is just hating life. So this is going to be a fun little event. It's always a good time. If you're in the area, make sure you come out. It's not all Mustangs. It just has to be Ford modular based engines. So that's why it's called the Mod Nationals. Justin Young puts it on, and it's going to be a good time. So we'll go down there and see if we can take one more win for the year.